What's up, guys, and welcome to the Bearded Jeeper podcast. I'm not even sure what episode this is. Maybe it's episode 13, I think. This is going to be another solo podcast, though. Work has just been absolutely crazy. I've been really fighting to get enough time to even be by myself for 5 minutes to do some editing on the computer, and I've been working like 50, 60 hours a week at work, so it's been really difficult I have to schedule these podcasts, have to make sure the guest is on the same time zone, or we can work with a time that works well for both of us. It gets pretty difficult, especially with a lot of people that are on the West Coast. Me being on the East Coast, I get up way before they're even out of bed. Especially, some of them might still be up when I get up. I'm crazy, and I wake up at 2:30 in the morning. I don't have to be to work till 5, but I like to go on a run before I get started on the day, just to kind of get up, do something, stay healthy, stay active, stay fit. A lot of people think I'm pretty crazy. I've done a couple half marathons. I was planning on doing a full marathon, but of course, like anything this year, it got canceled. So hopefully next year I'll be able to do my first full marathon. But lately I've been running 5 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles, something like that in the morning. I've actually started to get back into bodybuilding and kind of doing a little bit more lifting weights. And I think that's kind of a funny little bit of a segue here, that this isn't my first YouTube channel. The Bearded Jeeper is not my first YouTube channel. I know I've spoke a little bit about it in the past, and when I was younger, I wanted, YouTube was still pretty young back when I was doing this. I was really getting into bodybuilding and fitness, and I was actually training to have my certification to be a personal trainer. That long story short, that thing fell apart. But I had a little YouTube channel. It was horrible. You can still find it out there. Some people can find it out there. It is called Monstar Fitness, like monster, but Monstar. And it's hard to find. It has a picture of this Hulk guy. That was my logo. And if you guys can find it, you might see young me with no beard and some very awkward videos, to say the least. I think back then, for a while, I was actually shooting on, I don't know if anyone remembers one of those flip cams. I think they were called flip cams. It's where it was just like a solid box, almost like a iPhone. This was before iPhones and everything. Or I think maybe the iPhone was just coming out, the first generation of it. But cameras weren't that good back then. It was one of those cameras that had the little flip out USB thing, and you could plug the whole thing into your computer. It was supposed to be easy to upload. It did all right. One thing, I kind of actually went back and looked at some of those old videos a little while ago, and a couple people commented on some reviews of the supplements that I did, and they said, oh, you can't trust this guy, he's not even looking at the camera. And that's one of the big tips. If you're starting out a YouTube channel and you're talking to the camera, it can be difficult at first. You think you're not talking to anyone at all. How difficult can it be? But you can still get that. It's not, I guess I would call it camera shyness, but I'm not even really sure at this point if it is actually being camera shy, just because you're just like yourself. It's a very awkward thing recording yourself, and it's even more awkward in the beginning when you're around other people. You kind of get over the fear, and not a lot of other people are doing it. Like Casey Neistat kind of started the whole trend where carrying around a camera kind of became a little more common. So it gets better over time. But one of the big things to take away from this is to look into the camera when you're talking look into the lens when you're talking to someone. I see a lot of YouTubers starting out, and they maybe not, they don't really look into the camera. They look here, there, but it's kind of a psychology thing. You're not going to trust someone that's not looking you in the eye, basically. I mean, when you talk to someone in general, if they're not looking at you, looking into your eyes, you're kind of wondering if they're lying to you. Maybe their eyes are kind of darting across, like it's a telltale sign of someone being dishonest. So it definitely a good skill to learn is to look people in the eye and talk to them dead on. I know personally for me, I was very shy growing up, and it was always hard for me staring someone in the eye to talk to them, but it's a very good skill. It shows respect for the person, and it just kind of makes it so they trust you more and listen to you when you're talking. They're not wondering what you're looking at. You can actually look them in the eye. But anyway, it has been crazy lately. Like I said, it's just been working a bajillion hours, so it's been hard. I haven't filmed a whole lot, so there wasn't a podcast last week, and I apologize for that. It's the first one I've missed. It's been every Wednesday released up until now, so I'm sure I will miss more in the future. This is just a hiccup and a road bump, but I wanted to take a second to thank every single one of you who listens to the podcast and who listens every week. I just want to say thank you, because it's motivated me to keep going, keep pushing. Some people are liking this and listening to this. If you have any I can't talk apparently. If you guys have any suggestions on who you'd like to have as a guest on the podcast, I have a couple of people in the works, but it's just very difficult kind of meshing everything together and getting everyone's schedules to line up. So I have a bunch more planned, and it's gonna be good. I don't know if you guys can notice, this is the second episode I've recorded on this new microphone. It's the Rode Pod mic. Great little microphone for $100. And this is the first episode going into my new mixer. So I have a little bit more control of how it sounds, and what you guys are hearing should be a little bit higher quality sound. As long as I can make everything on the computer side go in and come out right the way it sounds in my head as I'm monitoring the sound, at least. So in other news, I'm kind of sounding like a newscast here. The Cherokee, I have been working on Project Zip Tie, and for those of you who don't know, Project Zip Tie is my Jeep Cherokee XJ, 1-ton swapping it. I have a set of 05 Ford Super Duty axles that are going underneath it. I have some 40-inch tires that are going to hopefully fit under it once I get everything all kind of squared away and all set. So this is a big project for me. This is my first ever big like axle swap and big like fabrication project, I would say. I haven't done very much. This whole project has kind of been my teach myself how to weld. It's a great skill to learn, and I think everyone has to start somewhere. And let me tell you what, there are tons of people who, if you put your welds online, are going to judge and say that's not going to hold, and there's a ton of better welders than you, and you should just give up now. But I don't care, because I'm going to keep doing this, keep pushing, as long as it's not something that is going to like injure me. Like if I'm not going to go tackle a roll cage right now, but like welding on the frame stiffeners and stuff, and I'm fairly confident in welding on axle brackets and stuff, and I can make sure those will hold. I'll put a ton of heat into them. I think it's a good to learn and to practice. So go out there, get yourself a welder, 110, flux core, whatever you can afford, gasless. You got to start somewhere and just start learning how to weld, start getting that process. You don't get better at welding by just watching videos. You actually have to get out there and do it as a hands-on thing. And I think that might be one of the reasons I like it so much. I'm a real hands-on learner. If I do something and I do it correctly, then I basically retain that skill. If I do it wrong, I just got to keep doing it until just like one time doing it right, and that kind of makes it easier for me to do it right again and again. It kind of just ingrains that skill into my brain and helps me remember what to do right and what to do wrong, and what I was doing right, what I was doing wrong. But I just really like the process. Might be the pyro in me a little bit too. I really like watching the puddle form and learning how to manipulate it and kind of figuring out the settings. And there's quite a skill set, and it's almost an art form at times. Like you see some of those crazy Instagram pictures of people's welds that are beautifully TIG welded, and they have all those beautiful like rainbow colors in them. It's just fascinating at what people can do with these machines. If you guys want to get a welder for yourself, go to yeswelder.com and use code TheBeardedJeeper, and it'll get you 10% off. They're very affordable welders anyway. It's a very good welder, I believe, as a beginner welder. I can't say from a professional standpoint because I'm still a beginner. I'm a noob, but this welder has done right by me. It sticks metal together and it works really well. I haven't had any issues with it whatsoever. It's been working really well for me, and they're affordable. So that, along with the code to get 10% off, that might be the thing that gets you guys starting into welding. And I just want to be upfront and honest with you guys. If you do use that code, I do get a little tiny kickback of it. I get a certain percentage of each sale that's made, but it's really helping me out, helping the channel grow, and I can make more content, make more podcasts, and just do more things in general. But I really want to start. I know Gary Vee always preaches document over create. And I really just need to do that more. I need to stop. I kind of get in my own head, I think. I want to, even if it's not a full-fledged like cinematic blockbuster production, I can get out the video camera, bust out my iPhone, show you guys what I'm doing in the garage, what I'm working on zip tie. I may not do it every day, but I can string a couple days together, make them kind of a vlog-like. If you guys would be interested in something like that, let me know. I'd like to get your feedback. I want to make videos that you guys are going to want to watch and see. You guys like zip tie, you like Project Zip Tie, and you like seeing the 1-ton swap on that. So it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to get everything installed. I got 40-inch tires, Battleborn bead locks. The tires are the Nitto Trail Grapplers, real great tire. And what else do I got? I got the Artec truss for the front axle. Staying leaf springs in the back and coils in the front for now. I just want to get this whole thing kind of set up first and wheel it a little bit. Learn what I did right and what I did wrong, because I'm sure I will make mistakes. And that's honestly how the best way to learn is learning by mistakes. So then I'm going to, once I've built it and I've wheeled it some, then I can modify it, change it. I might go to a 4-link setup in the rear eventually. But being my first setup, I wanted to keep it relatively simple. I am taking a transfer case out of a JK, a Rubicon JK transfer case, and I'm going to swap it in place of the normal like 231 or 242 transfer case. I think this one had a 231. And the spline count lines up, same amount of splines on each, and all these Jeep transfer cases have the same 6-bolt pattern, so it should bolt right up. I've heard some people have done this, but I want to make a video on it just because it hasn't really been documented that well, and especially if I get it and it works and everything. I mean, I have the transfer case, but as long as I get everything hooked up right and it's working, it should work. As long as I can get everything to work, we should be in good shape, and that'll give you another option if you can get a Rubicon transfer case. I know the ones for the JK right now are unbelievably highly priced. They're like $1,500 they're going for. I didn't pay that much for mine. I got mine for a steal, but it's still like they go for some money, but I'll have that 4-to-1 crawl ratio, and I think that's going to help me out quite a bit, and especially because I'm going to stick with the stock gears for a little bit just to keep it rolling, and I've never re-geared anything, so I have to learn that, and I just want to get it out and wheeling it, and I think even with the 40-inch tires, and the gearing on the axles is 373s, so I should be okay for a little bit wheeling the 40s on those, and then and I'll be open of course, and then I'll worry about gears and locker and everything after that. That's another big expense. But for the transmission cross member area / mounting location for my control arms, I'm gonna end up using the Iron Rock off-road cross member, and I might use their long arms too. I'm not 100% sure yet. I kind of wanted to build my own, but we'll see what works, what the best budget is, and I still got to buy the Iron Rock off-road stuff. I'm almost done. I've welded on the front frame stiffeners, almost got the mids done. I'm working on the second side now, and then I have the rears to do, but in order to get the rears done, I have to have my buddy Eric come over and move the jack stands so we can shift where they're placed, because right now it's right in the way where I'd need to weld for the rear, and I really just can't wait to get onto the rear. I feel like I've grown in welding, and I'm a decent welder now, at least for still being a beginner, but it's just the mid frame stiffeners are super difficult. You're on your back for probably 90% of it if you don't have a lift, and it's just like you're at awkward angles. My garage is tiny, so I'm like doing Jeep yoga just to try to get this thing welded in and solid. Now, I've heard that the mids are the worst, and it's always hard. There's a lot of popping and hissing because the underliner, the like bed light, I can't even talk this afternoon. Bed liner kind of stuff that's on there. I ground 90% of it off, but you're always going to run into some, and it's just the mid stiffeners didn't fit 100%, and I'm not 100% sure if that was the company that I bought them from, if it's their product that has fitment issues, or if when I was cutting off the lower control arms, I didn't cut off enough, and it just, I don't know, but I've been kind of beating them and pounding them and hammering them and tacking them and getting them into place, and so there's bigger gaps and spots that I had to fill, and the biggest thing is it's just plating the frame. It's gonna hold. I've put a ton of heat into this, and it's gonna strengthen the frame overall. The frame itself is like super thin steel, so that's another challenge you run into when welding on these frame stiffeners or unibody stiffeners. they really are called because it's a unibody, not a frame. But once I get onto the rears, it'll be a little bit easier because I have more room and easier to get in and out and maneuver around and put the gun where I need to, and I'm not laying on my back for 90% of it. Gets old real quick when all the sparks and stuff start flying on you, and definitely recommend a good welding jacket and something where it's gonna. I've been wearing a bandana like around my neck so the sparks don't fly down my shirt, because I did have one fly down through my shirt and it was hot. It burns. You will get burned welding on these frame stiffeners. It's gonna happen. So you just kind of got to suck it up, and you do. It's not like you're going to get burned, but it's pretty high probability. You do your best not to get burned, but it's kind of part of the territory when you're welding. You're gonna burn yourself. I don't think it hurts a lot of the time. Like, it might, if a coal's rolling around, it might sting a little bit at first, but it almost just like burns through your skin and burns the nerve endings off real quick. And luckily you're able to like pat it out pretty quick, but it's definitely not something I want to keep doing, burning myself. So I try to wear all my PPE and make sure I'm protecting my skin and myself as much as I can and being as safe as I can. So once I get all the frame stiffeners welded on, then I can actually start mocking up the rear axle. I got it 90% cleaned up. If you saw one of my recent YouTube videos, I got it on jack stands again, the rear axle on jack stands. So once that is all on there, once it's all the frame stiffeners are on there, I'm going to wheel the axle underneath, put the U-bolts in and all the perches and stuff, and just kind of get it mocked up, and then figure out my driveline angle, and then I can go ahead and tack the brackets in, tack all the leaf spring perches and everything in, the shock mounts and everything, and then pull it back out to actually burn it and be able to weld it up on a bench so I'm not hunched over and I can get good welds, good penetration. Then once the rear axle is all set, then it's onto the front axle, and I still have to cut off all the stuff involved in a Dana 60 swap in the front. And for those of you who have done a Dana 60 swap in anything, you know all the crazy big Ford brackets that you have to cut off. It's just a lot of work. I actually now have a plasma cutter, so I might start playing around with that and trying that out. So that should help and should make it so I don't go through as many cutoff discs. But you never know. I have to get 220 because I know Nate, SWB Crawler, he had told me that he has the same plasma cutter from Yes Welder. They do sell plasma cutters too. So if you need to get one of those. And he said it was struggling to cut through the thicker stuff, or it didn't like anything thicker at 110. So 220 is definitely going to be recommended, and that's what I'm going to need. Also, I'm going to need a bigger air compressor because that tiny little pancake compressor I have, it's not going to work. It's going to just keep fighting for air and keep having to recharge. You'll be just running the whole time. That's not going to work for a plasma cutter. So it might be a little bit till I get to test that. It's not going to be a cheap endeavor for sure. But yeah, I got the Artec front truss swap kit, so should be able to get that all welded on. Then got to figure out control arms and got to order some drive shafts once I get it all set. Got to still mount all my bead locks, and still a lot of work to do. And it's not getting any warmer. I'd like to get it sitting on its own weight before it gets really cold. And if you guys have been following my channel for any time, you know that my garage likes to freeze in the winter. It's more like the springtime, actually. Seems like whenever I I have like a low spot in front of the garage, and whenever the snow starts to melt and it starts to seep into the garage, and then it gets cold at night, and then it'll freeze, and it's just a vicious cycle. I mean, I've had it's been over like 2 inches of ice in there before, and anything I have on the floor freezes to it, so I can't work on it, or I'm laying in ice, and it's just miserable. I really need a new garage, but that's another big expense that I can't afford right now. I mean, what am I looking at? At least 25 grand for a decent garage. Like, even some of those smaller like metal buildings I was looking at, like 6 to 10 grand, anywhere in there. And then I have to figure out power and heat in the winter. I mean, I have a little wood stove that I'd like to put in whatever garage setup I eventually have. But that's why I kind of always joke about having a tree come down and hit my garage, and just the insurance taking over. That'd be the best goal, or best thing to happen. As long as the Cherokee wasn't in there. I've done enough work on it now where I really don't want it to fall on the Cherokee. Like, before I was just starting, yeah, it could have fallen on there and I would have been all right. But now that I've done all this work to it, I really don't want it to fall on it until I get it out of the garage. That's good coffee. If you guys haven't checked it out, I do have my own coffee. Well, it's not my own coffee. It's Motorized Coffee Company. They made a coffee blend that is the Bearded Jeeper coffee blend. It's got a picture of my Jeep right on the front. It's wicked cool. Really great tasting coffee. They're local. They're out of Mass. I believe they're near Boston, Mass, if I'm not mistaken. But really great coffee. And I do have a discount code. I believe it's Bearded Jeeper or the Bearded Jeeper. So you can try my coffee or any of the other coffees they have on their website, and you get a discount. I'll make sure to list that along with the Yes Welder discount code in the description below, or in the show notes. I'm so used to saying description below for YouTube videos. But this is, if you want to check out the welder or the coffee, I will list all the links and discount codes in the description, or in the show notes below, so you guys can check that out. The Wrangler needs a little bit of work. I got an oil pan that I got to replace. I got all the stuff to replace that. I got to replace the gas tank. I'm just having so much issues. My buddy sold me his gas tank and a gas tank skid plate, so I'll be able to swap that out and have that better. This weekend, though, I am shooting a collab video with Nate SWB Crawler. He's coming up. We're gonna wheel. It's gonna be fun. Be my first time wheeling with him. First time meeting him. I've talked to him several times. We've had him on the podcast, but he's actually gonna be here wheeling. So it's gonna be a great time. We're gonna camp out on Friday night and then do some wheeling on Saturday. It's going to be his introduction to New Hampshire wheeling. I know he's done a lot of wheeling at AOAA and other places like that, but first time in New Hampshire. Him and his wife are coming up for their anniversary, so it should be a good time. But hopefully the JK is up for it. I haven't wheeled like at all this year. I've just been busy doing stuff here and there and everywhere, and now I got the truck. I don't even really drive the Jeep right now, so it's gonna be good to actually get to drive it this weekend a little bit. Try out the bead locks. I really haven't tried them out since I installed them on the JK. I have the Battleborn bead locks now on the JK as well, so it's gonna change how much I can air down to, and that's really gonna help. So I think that's about it for like news and stuff I'm working on. But this has been actually pretty productive, this solo podcast, I think. As long as I don't sound like I'm rambling on the whole time. It's kind of hard when you're just the one-man show one-person podcast right now. It just feels like I'm rambling on and on and on with no break. But I'm trying to pause a little bit more. I think the last solo podcast I did, I kind of like just rambled on and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. And I have some coffee this time, so that might help with the energy, but I don't know. That is some damn good coffee. But I appreciate you guys listening through this whole process of me doing a solo podcast again. Hopefully the sound quality is awesome. If you guys notice the sound quality, you like it, let me know. Leave me a comment, find me on social media. I'll have all the links in the show notes, along with all the discount codes and everything. And if you enjoy the podcast, if you've been enjoying these episodes and you want to hear more guests and you like it, make sure you leave a review on any of the social media platforms that you listen to podcasts, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, pretty much anywhere. I distribute the podcast on Anchor, and it kind of spreads it out throughout all these other podcast places. So it really takes a load off of me. I just have to edit it, throw it on there, and it's good to go. It goes right up. So I guess that's it, guys. Thank you guys again for tuning in to listen to the Bearded Jeeper podcast. This isn't going to be a video recorded episode. I just wanted to get something out this Wednesday so I didn't miss 2 podcasts in a row. I don't want to get into a habit of missing podcasts and then next thing you know, I wouldn't be having a podcast at all. I don't want any excuses, so hopefully we'll have more people on soon. Next week, hopefully to have some more guests. I have a couple people lined up, like I said. But thanks again, guys, for listening to the Bearded Jeeper podcast. And as always, stay bearded, stay Jeepin'. I'm out.